Hi, I'm Paul, and I am the infrastructure nerd.
And I'm Mary Jo, a legal technologist.
You know, I've always loved the way we can add fields to the file structures within PracticeMaster.
Yeah, it's really nice.
One of the most flexible parts of the program.
Mm-hmm. I only wish that there was ways that we could restrict some of the access to changing those fields once they're added.
That's right, because sometimes those fields hold very sensitive information that only one or two people know really what belongs in there, and other people can muck things up.
Yeah. Is there a way that we could change that?
Well, there is now in version 19.
Really? Can you show us how that works?
I sure can. Okay, so if you go into the client file, for instance, in PracticeMaster, there may be fields in this file, the client file, and of course this functionality works in any file, but there may be fields in the client file that I don't want people to mess with. Let's pretend that statute of limitations is one of those. Once it's set, the only person who I want to be able to change it is somebody who has rights to change the restricted fields in the client file. A supervisor, a manager, somebody that's got the authority to do that. Now, obviously right now, anybody can change it. So I'm logged in as Ron, and I can go ahead and change that. How do I restrict it? Well, it starts in maintenance, file maintenance. Not going to make a backup, of course, we know we all would. I'm going to go into the client file, and I'm going to find that statute of limitations field right there. And there's a new box here called, a checkbox called Restrict Changes. I'm going to check that. I'm going to say I'm done. I'm just going to ask if I really mean it. I'm going to say yes. And now when I go into the client file, I, Ron, still have access to this field. How do you keep people out of the restricted fields that you've set in a particular file? Right here. In Access Profiles. If we go into Access Profiles and System Configuration, right here, and I'm going to pull up the PM only. I'm going to make the PM only users not able to edit those restricted fields. And you'll see I've already done this. So if I go to the PM only Access Profile, slip over to the PM tab, the PracticeMaster functions, I could change all those access profiles where I don't want the users that are a member of that access group to be able to add restricted or change the restricted fields in the client file by changing this to no. Change client restricted fields, no. Now what you'll find is that all the files, the contact file, for instance, will also have a change contact restricted fields, change calendar restricted fields, change calendar code restricted fields. All the files will have their own access profile to change the restricted fields in that file. That's an important distinction, something to note. You can't say this field in the client file can be changed by these people and this field in the client file can only be changed by these people. It's all or nothing. You're allowing access to change the restricted fields in the client file, the calendar file, the contact file, whichever it is, but you're doing that on a file-by-file basis, okay? So now I've taken Jen. Let's go into users. Let's pull up Jen. And what you'll see is that although Ron is a manager and can access anything, Jen is part of the PM-only group that I have said cannot access those restricted fields in the client file. So if I go ahead and get out of here and get out of PracticeMaster and then go back in as Jen, and I go into that client file, when I go over to the Court tab, the statute of limitations date is grayed out. I don't know if you can see that, but it's not a totally white background. It's a grayed out background. And if I get in here and I try to change this field, I just plain can't, okay? That's the restricted field. Now, if I log back out and then come back in as Ron, who is a manager and therefore has access to do that. Of course, if he weren't a manager but was still assigned to an access profile that did give him that right, And then same thing would happen. When I go over to the Court tab, I can change the statute of limitations date. There you have it, restricted fields in PracticeMaster version 19.
And that's just one more way that we can help you to worry less
And practice more.